There has been a semi-recent resurgence of Superman content recently, both with the reveal of the new Superman suit and with the Starman edits. This has been a fantastic change of pace from the dark, gloomy, and godlike Superman we've been getting for the last decade. And so with that in mind, I decided to check out My Adventures with Superman. But before we talk about this new Superman, I want to talk about my first Superman story ever. Smallville. Smallville was a show that had a villain of the week with a slight overarching story that lasted for about 10 seasons. And I started watching that when I was around 6 years old. Till this day, I have never gotten past season 6, but the image of Tom Welling as Superman has been etched into my brain even though he never wore the suit. Since watching Smallville, the only Supermen that I have seen are the ones that kill. They're the twisted versions of the Big Blue Boy Scout. But this is where My Adventures with Superman comes in, as the anime Superman. Side note number 1, the people that made The Legend of Korra are also the people that made My Adventures with Superman. Unlike Man of Steel, My Adventures with Superman focuses heavily on the Clark and Lois' relationship. The show is legitimately called My Adventures with Superman, and the relationship is nothing if not adorable. Even before they're dating, Clark and Lois are making each other better. Clark is a stickler for the rules and doesn't want to stand out among others, while Lois wants to make a name for herself and will disregard any barriers in her path. In the first episode, they both have a mini realization of how the other helped them, but they also reflect on themselves. It's such a perfect dynamic, which is only amplified by their chemistry. Second side note, it's insane to me that shows like this with characters who have such good chemistry rarely, if ever, have the main voice cast in one room together. A fantastic example of this is the dubbing group for Death Note, who only met months after the show ended at a convention. Watching Clark and Lois causes pure joy to erupt from my soul. Even when Lois has figured out that Clark is Superman and does the "you don't trust me" trope, it feels right. Lois might not care for the rules, but as a reporter, she is entirely based around the truth. And having Clark lie to her is such a painful experience. But their reconciliation comes about completely naturally with a talking monkey and a big-brained man. Well, actually the reconciliation is because of Jimmy. Oh my god, I've completely disregarded the side characters. The villain of the week aspect of this show works very well and reminds me of Smallville, with the small villains coming back later on to pose a bigger threat. Although all of them are relatively flat. This girl wants money, these people want to make a name for themselves, this guy wants to be rich, and Task Force X wants to protect Earth. That's legitimately it. I wish with the main villain of season 1, the General, there was more given to his reasoning. We've seen him fervently protect his reasons because Zero Day was so terrible, but to the audience and to others, there isn't much of a reason to care. Actually, let me show you something. Welcome to Silas's Writing Corner. If I have an idea about how I would rewrite something from a show, we'll come here. If you don't want to watch this and want to continue watching the review, go to this time code. So the problem here is that we don't care enough about Zero Day. How do we change this? Well, I have two main ideas. Idea number 1. We introduce a friend of the General's to have been killed on Zero Day. This will give us more of a reason to empathize with him and understand his point. To do this, we'll go to episode 8, where Clark is being interrogated by General Lane. Instead of just having Waller come by and reprimand him, we will add another character who then dies in the onslaught of Zero Day. The problem is, this introduces a character just to kill them off and give another character motivation. That is literally the definition of fridging a character, and I don't really like fridging. I think it's not great writing. So, hear me out on my second idea. We introduce and kill General Lane on Zero Day. Obviously, this is going to change the story significantly. From episode 1, we'll begin foreshadowing Lois' father, but we will never show him or really talk about what he actually did. And then in episode 8, we'll keep most of the events the same. Clark is still kidnapped, but this time it's Waller interrogating him. And in the flashback, it will be revealed that General Lane, Lois' father, died on Zero Day. This will simultaneously give Waller a fantastic reason to be doing what she's doing, give Lois a reason to distrust Kryptonians, and cause Clark to really question his heritage. This change kills a lot of birds with one stone, and also adds a depth to every single one of the characters shown so far. I should say, I am really enjoying the direction they're going for season 2, and obviously they have a story planned out. My small change doesn't have anything to do with that. I'm not thinking ahead for how things will go on in the future. That's just my small idea of what I think would be cool, but I'm also really enjoying what they're doing with the show. Anyways, let's continue the review. Overall, the side characters in the show are pretty enjoyable, and I particularly love the dynamic between Jimmy and Steve. Lastly, the soup lore. The ways they have changed Superman's beginnings are genius. Having his father not be able to speak English provides more of a mystery, but I'm not so keen on the use of the multiverse as such a big origin point. Having the multiverse be the reason for some Superman villainy speculation, but particularly the introduction of kryptonite, just feels wrong. And then they just return home, practically forgetting the fact that the multiverse exists. Like, even though there are some light problems with the show, it only matters because I'm as picky as I am. The characters here continuously complement each other fantastically, and the relationship between Lois and Clark is something that will continuously bring me back week to week and season to season, as season 2 is actually releasing right now. Thank you guys very much for watching. What did you think of the writing corner? Should I do more of it? Should I never do it again? Give me your opinions. I would love that. Anyways, this has been Recency Bias. I've been your host, Silas Jackson, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.